Dear listeners, close your eyes for a moment. Imagine a little girl soaked in tears, clutching a tiny shoe that belonged to her missing brother. Behind her, a black foggy forest looms like the gaping mouth of a monster, ready to devour anything that dares enter. The cold rain falls relentlessly, soaking her hair and pale face. There are no voices, only the howling wind, whispers of unseen creatures, and scattered black feathers on the ground. What happened to her brother? Who dared to take a child in the dead of night without a sound? And why did a tiny mouse appear at the very moment when all hope seemed lost? But before we continue the story, please support this channel by liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Your support means the world to us and gives us the spirit to keep bringing more amazing stories. Oh, and don't forget to check in down in the comments. Tell us where you're listening from so we can see how far our stories have reached. Now let's continue the story. The rain had not stopped since the night of the fire. The flames that devoured the palace didn't just burn walls and marble pillars. They took the lives of the king and queen, loved dearly by their people. Alina, the young princess, only 11 years old, had hidden beneath a stone table, holding her little brother Rafi close and covering his mouth so he wouldn't cry. When the sun rose, her world had vanished. The royal palace lay in ashes. The sound of bells was replaced by weeping, and every servant had disappeared. Alina grabbed Rafi's hand, and the two children ran as far away as they could from the ruins of everything they had ever known. For 2 years, Alina raised Rafi in a broken-down cottage at the edge of the forest. No proper food, no medicine, no warm arms to comfort them. Alina became mother, sister, and protector all in one. Rafi, once full of laughter, cried almost every night, calling out for the parents who would never come back. Alina stayed strong, even though her heart was quietly breaking. She learned to gather wild fruit, trap small birds, and start a fire with nothing but 2 stones. But that night, a night that should have been ordinary, everything changed again. Alina woke up just before dawn and felt the cold emptiness beside her. Rafi's blanket was crumpled. The sheet they shared held only faint footprints and damp patches of mud. On the floor, she found a strange black feather and claw marks leading toward the forest. Her heart nearly stopped. She shouted Rafi's name again and again, but only the echo of her own voice answered. Her hands trembled, not from the cold, but from the terror rising deep inside. That forest. They were told never to go near it. The villagers called it the charcoal woods. Everyone said once you enter you never return. But Alina knew. Rafi was in there. And she wasn't going to let him disappear like the rest of her family. With shaking hands, she packed a piece of stale bread, grabbed a lantern, and stepped into the forest. The night wind slapped her face as if trying to stop her. The trees rose tall above her, blocking out the moonlight and wrapping the world in darkness and strange, unexplainable sounds. Each step grew heavier. Every shadow felt like it had eyes. But she kept walking. Until a strange little voice made her freeze. "Are you lost, human?" Alina turned around. No one. Then she looked down. On a wet stone stood a tiny gray mouse with sharp black eyes that glowed in the dark. The mouse spoke, not in squeaks but in a clear, knowing voice. "I know who you're looking for." Alina backed away, stunned. "Who are you?" "My name is Nilo. And you?" "You're the princess who has lost everything." Alina didn't respond. She just stared at the strange little creature, unsure if she was hallucinating or truly speaking to a mouse. Nilo lifted his head. "Your brother was taken by the night crow. He will be delivered to the shadow sorceress before the red moon rises. If you want to save him, we don't have much time." Alina felt her legs go weak. The Shadow Sorceress. That name came only in the darkest bedtime tales. People said she lived in ruined towers deep in the forest and drank the spirits of children to stay young and powerful. "Why would you help me?" she whispered. Nilo looked up at the dark sky. "Because I once lost my family too. And I don't want anyone else to feel that kind of pain again." Suddenly, a rustle in the leaves. A branch snapped. A dark shape darted through the trees above. Alina dropped low. Nilo crawled quickly into her coat. "We must leave this place. The forest is watching you now," Nilo warned. Alina took a deep breath and looked at the narrow, dark path ahead. She knew she couldn't go back. Not until she found Rafi. And she knew that from this moment on. She was no longer walking alone. The forest was not just dark, it was alive. The moment Alina stepped deeper into the woods, the air thickened. Every breath felt like inhaling smoke. The trees leaned toward her, their gnarled branches twitching in slow, ghostly movements. Roots writhed beneath her feet like sleeping serpents, waiting to awaken with the slightest misstep. Nilo stayed hidden inside her coat, but his voice remained steady and near her ear. "Keep to the center path. If you stray, the forest will play tricks on you." Alina clenched the lantern tightly, its weak glow flickering against the shadows. Her eyes darted left and right, but she kept moving forward. She didn't speak. Her mind was filled with Rafi's face. His soft curls, his sleepy giggle. His little hand that used to clutch her dress when he was scared. The thought of him surrounded by evil hands, locked in darkness, made her want to scream. But fear would only weaken her. And she couldn't afford that now. The deeper they went, the stranger things became. Trees that were once thick and tall began to twist into impossible shapes. Some split in half with hollow centers, others leaning together as if whispering secrets. And then she heard it. Voices. Not loud, not clear, but they were there. Whispering. "Alina. Alina." She froze. Nilo tensed in her coat. "Don't answer. Just walk." But the voice was so familiar. Sounded like her mother. So gentle. So warm. "Alina, come this way." Her legs wanted to move toward it, but Nilo dug his claws into her shoulder, not enough to hurt, but enough to remind her that something wasn't right. "That's not her," Nilo said firmly. "This is the path of whispers. Steals memories and mimics voices. That's how it traps people forever." Alina blinked hard, forcing tears back. She looked down and walked faster, ignoring the gentle echoes calling her name. The whispers turned sharper, darker. They began to taunt her. "You let him go. You weren't watching. Why didn't you hear him cry? You failed him." She covered her ears. "Stop it. That's not true." The trees laughed. Leaves rustled like cruel applause. The lantern dimmed. Then everything went silent. Alina stopped. The path split into two. The left path was bathed in strange blue light, filled with floating white flowers and calm wind. It looked safe. The right path was darker, filled with sharp thorns and crooked stones. Smelled like ash. Alina turned to Nilo. "Which way?" Nilo's voice was quiet. "The left path is a trap. It leads to the mirror veil. People go there thinking it's safe, but once they look into the water they forget who they are. You won't even remember Rafi." Alina turned toward the dark, thorny path. "Then we go right." The moment her feet touched the stones, a wave of cold swept over her. The path was narrow and cruel. Thorns tore her sleeves. Rocks bruised her ankles. Blood oozed from a cut on her hand, but she gritted her teeth and kept going. She lost track of time. Minutes felt like hours. Hours like days. Her lips were dry. Her throat ached. Still she pressed on, until she stumbled into a clearing. A lake lay before her, not wide, not deep, but completely still. At the center stood a single tree, black, leafless, and tall. Hanging from its branches were tiny cages, no bigger than her hand. Inside each cage, something moved. Children. Not their bodies, just their faces. Tiny, glowing faces, eyes wide in silent screams. Their mouths moved, but no sound came out. Alina felt her knees give way. What is this place? Nilo climbed out of her coat and stood beside her. This is where the sorceress keeps the souls of those she takes. She doesn't always take bodies. Sometimes, she just steals the light inside them. Alina wanted to cry, but no tears came. One of the cages swung closer. Inside it was a face she recognized. A girl. Same age as her. Same eyes. It was her. No. Alina whispered. That's a memory the forest tried to steal from you, said Nilo softly. But you didn't give in. Suddenly a loud crack rang out. The ground shook. The lake rippled. And from beneath the tree rose a creature. Tall, cloaked in darkness, with feathers dripping from its shoulders. Its face was masked by a silver beak. The night crow. Alina backed away, but the creature turned its head slowly toward her. It didn't attack. It spoke. You are late, princess. Its voice was deep and layered, like several people speaking at once. Rafi is already halfway to the Black Hollow. You'll never reach him in time. Alina clenched her fists. You won't stop me. The creature laughed. The cages above swung wildly. You think bravery will protect him? No, she said. But love will. The night crow stepped closer. Alina raised her lantern, but the flame was out. Nilo leapt onto her arm. Don't move. He feeds on fear. The more you run, the more he grows. Alina stood still. The night crow circled her, then leaned close. I wonder how long you'll last before this forest devours your mind. Then, just as quickly, it vanished, its feathers melting into mist. Silence returned. Alina fell to the ground, trembling. She wasn't ready. She was just a girl. Just a sister. But Rafi was somewhere out there waiting. And she would not fail him. Not now. Not ever. Alina had barely slept. Her eyes were heavy, her legs sore, her hands scratched and bruised. The forest no longer whispered. It now groaned and breathed, as though watching her from every angle. What once were just trees and vines had become twisted watchers, silently judging her every step. Beside her, Nilo remained quiet. He hadn't spoken since they left the cursed lake behind. He simply moved with her, alert, his tiny ears twitching at every distant crack, every rustle. They followed a narrow trail, guided only by instinct. There were no more signs, no more footprints, no more feathers. The trail had grown cold, but still Alina walked. Every step felt heavier than the last. At one point, her ankle twisted on a loose stone. She fell, her body slamming against wet soil. Her hand scraped, her knee bled, and for a moment she just lay there, face down, eyes closed, wanting to sleep. But sleep would mean failure. And Rafi's voice returned in her mind, laughing, asking for another story before bed. Holding her fingers tightly, she forced herself up. That was when she saw it. Faint glow. Not like fire. Not like moonlight. It came from beneath a thick wall of roots to her left. Twisted roots that rose from the ground like claws, circling something hidden. Alina approached slowly. Nilo jumped ahead, sniffed the air and whispered, "There's old magic here. Magic older than the sorceress herself." Alina reached out and touched the roots. They moved, pulled away, revealing a hidden stairwell carved from black stone, leading deep into the earth. A strange scent rose from below, damp earth mixed with burning herbs. The steps were slick, the air damp. She held the edge of the wall for balance as they descended. Step by step they moved into silence. The kind of silence that presses against your skin, that fills your lungs like smoke. Then the space opened. They had entered a large underground chamber. The walls pulsed with faint green veins of moss. In the center stood a stone basin filled with still, golden liquid. Around it, carved on the floor, were symbols Alina could not understand. And sitting behind the basin was someone. Woman. Old, wrapped in layers of bark and leaves, her hair as long as roots, her eyes clouded with time. She opened them slowly as Alina entered, as if she had been waiting. "You are late, Alina," the woman said softly. Alina froze. "You know my name." "I knew it before your first breath," she replied. "You carry your mother's strength." "My mother is gone," Alina whispered. "No, child. The ones we love never truly leave. Their blood runs through your veins. Their choices shape your path. And now you stand at the turning." Alina stepped forward. "I need to find Rafi. He's my little brother. The sorceress, she's going to take him." The woman's eyes narrowed. "She doesn't just take. She breaks. She poisons memory. Once the boy drinks her water, he will forget you ever existed. He will forget his name. He will forget love." Alina's chest tightened. "Tell me how to stop her." The woman gestured toward the golden pool. "This is memory root. One drop, and you will remember all you've lost. But more than one. And you may lose your way forever." "I don't need to remember," Alina said. "I need to fight." "Then drink," said the woman. Alina stepped forward, cupped her hands, and took a single sip. The taste was bitter like ash and honey. And suddenly, everything returned. The sound of her mother's laugh. The way her father lifted her high into the air. The scent of her brother's skin when he curled beside her at night. Tears. The fire. The screams. Every detail, clear and bright, slammed into her mind at once. She dropped to her knees, sobbing. Nilo nuzzled against her. "It hurts," Alina whispered. "I had forgotten so much." "But now you remember," said the old woman. "Now you know what you're fighting for." Alina wiped her face. Her voice steadier now. "Where did they take him?" The woman pointed to a stone archway at the far end of the chamber. "The black hollow lies beyond that path. But know this. You will not reach him in your own form. The sorceress's beasts hunt by scent. They already know you." "Then what do I do?" The woman reached into the moss behind her and pulled out a single silver leaf. "Place this on your tongue. It will shift your shape. But only for a time." Alina hesitated. "What will I become?" "Something small. Something forgotten. Like the one beside you." Alina looked at Nilo. He nodded. "I was once human too. The forest took my body, but gave me time to make it right." With shaking hands, Alina placed the leaf on her tongue. Cold. Dark. Her vision blurred. Her bones folded inward. Her skin shrank and her breath shortened. The world grew larger. She was no longer a girl. She was a mouse. Just like Nilo. The old woman's voice echoed behind her. "Go now, little ones. The hollow awaits. And the sorceress is waiting." The forest had changed again. From above, the trees looked taller, darker, more twisted. As they scurried through roots and shadows, Alina felt fear, but also a strange lightness. Her small body moved quickly, and no sound followed her steps. Nilo guided her. He knew every leaf, every crack in the bark, every hidden tunnel. But their silence didn't last. They heard the growls first, low, ragged, not of wolf or bear, but something older. "Shadow hounds," Nilo whispered. "Born from the sorceress's breath." Shapes moved in the dark, slender bodies with glowing red eyes, sniffing the air, hunting. Alina pressed herself under a fallen log. Her heart thumped so loud she feared they'd hear it. The hounds sniffed. One turned sharply, growled. Nilo grabbed her paw. "Run!" They darted between leaves and rocks, through holes and tunnels. The forest exploded behind them, branches snapping, claws scratching stone. Alina ran faster than she ever thought possible. Her legs burned. Her lungs screamed. And then light. A narrow crack in a rock wall. Nilo shouted, "Through there!" They dove in. The hounds snapped behind them, jaws missing by inches. Silence. Darkness. They had entered the outer ring of the black hollow. Alina could feel it. The ground beneath her paws pulsed with cold. The trees no longer looked like trees. They were bones, hollowed white, whispering. And in the distance, deep beneath the earth, came a sound she feared more than anything. Ruffy's voice. Crying. Calling her name. The air was different now. Thick and sharp like glass dust. Every breath Alina took in her mouse form stung her tiny lungs, but she didn't stop. Not when Ruffy's voice kept echoing faintly from below the twisted earth. Not when her own heart whispered that time was almost gone. Nilo moved beside her in silence, ears alert and body tense. The further they went, the colder it became. Not the kind of cold that made your skin shiver, but the kind that reached deep into your bones and wrapped itself around your memories. The black hollow didn't just steal warmth. Fed on everything light and good. The narrow tunnels under the hollow were unlike anything Alina had ever seen. The walls were wet and pulsing, almost alive. Roots dangled like veins from above, dripping strange dark sap that hissed whenever it hit the ground. Shadows crawled across the stone without shape or reason. There was no sun here, only a strange blue glow that came from nowhere, making everything look like it had been drained of color. As they squeezed through cracks and under rotted beams, Alina's thoughts returned to the shape she had left behind. Her human body, her voice, her hands. It was strange how quickly she had adapted to this small frame. How quickly she had forgotten what it felt like to stand tall and speak. Would she return to it? Or would she be trapped like this forever? "There's a gate ahead," whispered Nilo suddenly. And beyond it, her court. Alina followed his gaze. At the far end of the tunnel was a wide opening. And across that, a gate made entirely of blackened bone, woven tightly like a spider's web. Two creatures stood guard. Not human. Not beast. Tall figures with cracked white skin and no eyes. Their ears were long and curled like shells, constantly twitching, sensing every sound. "They're listeners," Nilo said. "They can't see but they hear everything. Even your heartbeat." Alina nodded slowly, careful not to make a sound. She pressed her body to the cold floor, moving as silently as a breath. The scent of the guards was heavy, rotten feathers and metal. She felt the floor vibrate beneath her as they shifted. Their feet had no toes, just pointed tips that scraped the stone as they walked. "We'll never pass them," she whispered. "We don't need to," Nilo replied. "There's a tunnel. Secret way. I found it once long ago." He turned and led her to a jagged crevice half hidden by a fallen stone. It looked too narrow, even for mice. But Nilo slipped through, and Alina followed, her body squeezing tight between the walls. Inside, the path was tight, suffocating. Every turn scraped her fur. Every crawl felt endless. She couldn't imagine crawling through this as a girl. It would have crushed her. She realized now why the forest had turned her into something so small. After what felt like forever, the tunnel opened into a hollow chamber, and there in the center was Rafi, suspended inside a glass sphere, floating inches above the floor. His body was still, eyes closed, lips slightly parted. Around the sphere danced thin threads of smoke, weaving symbols into the air. The spell was still forming. And next to it, standing with her back turned to them, was the sorceress. She wasn't like the stories said. She wasn't old and hunched or covered in warts. She was tall, graceful, dressed in flowing layers of black feathers that shimmered like oil. Her skin was pale as moonlight, her hair a river of silver. But her presence was cold, burned like ice. Lena froze. Her breath stopped. "I know you're here," the sorceress said softly without turning. The chamber darkened. "I can smell your fear." Nilo stepped in front of Alina. "Don't speak," he whispered. "Don't move." The sorceress turned slowly. Her eyes were empty. Hollow sockets filled with shadow, moving as if something lived inside. "A sister's love," she said, smiling. "Such a beautiful thing. So full of pain. So predictable." Alina's mind raced. How could she save him? She had no weapon, no spell. Just her small, trembling body and a heart that refused to stop fighting. "I took your parents too, you know," the sorceress continued, circling the sphere. "They thought hiding would protect their children. But I always find what I seek." Nilo whispered, "She's bluffing. Don't listen." But Alina couldn't help the rage growing in her chest. Her whiskers twitched. Her tiny claws dug into the stone. The sorceress stopped. "Do you want to trade?" she asked, voice like silk and poison. "One memory for another. Give me your happiest moment, and I will set him free." Alina stepped forward. "No." The sorceress raised an eyebrow. "No. I won't trade my love for him. I'll give everything but not memories. He is my memory." There was silence, then a deep laugh. "You are stronger than you look," said the sorceress. And with a flick of her hand, the glass sphere cracked. But it didn't fall. Shimmered, pulsed, and Rafi's body floated gently to the ground. Alina rushed forward. She didn't think, didn't hesitate. Just before she reached him, the sorceress moved. Faster than wind, she struck. Nilo jumped between them. A scream filled the chamber, sharp, piercing. Alina looked down and saw Nilo, trembling, his fur dark with blood. The sorceress stepped back, hissing. "I should have crushed you when you were still mine." Alina dropped beside him. "No, no, no, no. Please." Nilo looked up at her with fading eyes. "Get him out." Then he went still. The sorceress raised both arms. The walls cracked. The shadows screamed. Alina grabbed Rafi's hand with both of hers. Pulse. Her body burned. Her shape twisted. And for the first time since the transformation, she stood upright. She was Alina again. And the sorceress roared in rage. "You dare!" But Alina didn't listen. She picked up Rafi and ran. The ground behind her exploded. Shadow hounds burst through the walls. The sorceress screamed a spell so ancient it made the stones bleed. But Alina didn't stop. She ran through the tunnels. Through fire and falling stone. Through pain and screaming wind. She didn't look back. She couldn't. Nilo's sacrifice burned in her chest like a second heartbeat. She would not let it be in vain. And as she burst through the last tunnel and into the fading light above the forest floor, She knew the hollow was behind her. But the danger was not over. The sky above the forest was no longer the color of night. It had shifted. An eerie purple haze covered the canopy, bleeding faint strands of light through the leaves. But the sun was gone. Time had lost its shape. Alina staggered forward, Ruffy cradled in her arms. His body was limp, his breathing faint but steady. His eyes had not opened since she carried him out of the black hollow. There was no blood, no visible wound, but something deep within him was missing. His soul, perhaps, still tangled in the dark magic of the sorceress. Every step she took left a trail of broken leaves and drying tears. Her body was scratched, her clothes torn, and her spirit stretched to its limits. But she kept walking, even though her knees buckled more than once. Even though her vision blurred. The trees here were different. They were silent, not dead but listening. She passed one with bark that looked like a face. Its mouth hung open in a silent scream. Another had dozens of symbols carved into its trunk. Names. Names that pulsed with faint blue light. Ruffy began to stir in her arms. "Alina," he whispered, barely audible. Where are we?" She stopped, knelt, and brushed his hair from his forehead. "We're safe now," she lied. "You're with me. Just rest." But he shook his head weakly. "I saw her. In the dark. She tried to make me drink something." Alina's hands tightened around him. "You didn't drink it, did you?" "I don't remember," he said, his voice trembling. Alina looked around. The forest suddenly felt colder. Nilo's absence was loud. He had always known what to do, where to go. His silence now was like a hole in the world. She wanted to scream for him, to beg him to come back, but the only sound was the soft wind moving through leaves above. Then she heard it. Voice. Not Ruffy's. Not hers. But someone familiar. "Alina." She turned sharply. Nothing. But the voice came again. "Alina." And this time it came from Ruffy's mouth. But it wasn't him speaking. "Alina." Ruffy's eyes rolled back. His voice deepened, twisted like two voices overlapping. "Don't look back. She follows." Alina gasped. "Ruffy." His head fell against her chest, asleep once more. And from behind her, she heard the leaves rustle in a pattern too perfect to be wind. Something was coming. She picked up her pace. The forest grew darker again. Roots rose like barriers. Shadows danced where no light should be. The path in front of her split into 5, each one identical, each one filled with the same fog. Trap. She spun around. The forest behind her had changed. Path was gone. "Alina." The voice again, this time from the trees. "Alina." A whisper. Chant. Dozens of voices, all calling her name. She clenched her jaw. "You can't have him." But the trees didn't answer. Instead, the ground beneath her shifted. She fell. Not far, but straight down into a pit covered by leaves. She hit the earth hard, Ruffy still in her arms. Pain shot through her leg. She tried to stand but screamed. Her ankle was twisted. Above her, the hole sealed itself. Darkness. Only the sound of her own breathing. Ruffy's slow breath against her chest. And then movement. Not outside. Inside the pit. She wasn't alone. A shape moved in the shadows. Then, crawling along the walls. Then a voice, quiet and dry. "So she returns." Alina couldn't see anything. "Who are you?" she called out. The figure didn't answer at first. Then it stepped closer, barely lit by the glow of her trembling lantern. It was a woman. Or what remained of one. Her body was wrapped in vines and dirt, her hair tangled with insects, her eyes clouded and wide. Her skin had marks, names, hundreds of them, etched like scars. "You bear a burden," the woman said. "A soul touched by her darkness." Alina nodded slowly. "He's my brother." She tried to take him. "She did more than try," the woman whispered. "He is part of her now." "No," Alina said. "I pulled him out. I carried him here." "But did he follow you willingly?" the woman asked. "Or did she let him go?" Alina's hand shook. "Why are you saying this?" "Because you are in the forest of lost names," the woman said. "And every name carved in this place once belonged to a child who left their heart behind." Alina looked down at Rafi. His eyes fluttered open again. But they were not his eyes. They were empty. "Alina," he said in a soft, emotionless voice. She pulled him close. "I'm here." The woman stepped forward. "You must light the fire of remembrance," she said. "Or you will lose him forever." "What fire?" The woman reached behind her and pulled a small black seed from a pouch on her neck. "Take this. Plant it in the ground. Feed it your memory. The one that defines him most." Alina hesitated. "My memory." "One must be given," the woman said, "so that another may be restored." Alina looked at Rafi. His eyes still stared at nothing. She took the seed, held it to her chest. She closed her eyes. And she thought back to a single moment. The first time she had held him, just days after he was born. He had stopped crying the moment her arms wrapped around him. He had smiled. Teeny. Pure. That smile had never left her. Not in the fire. Not in the forest. She planted the seed. The ground trembled. Light burst upward in a quiet flame, gentle and golden. It wrapped around Rafi. His body glowed. The light sank into his skin. He blinked. And the emptiness was gone. "Alina," he whispered, his voice real again. She cried out, holding him close. "It's okay. I'm here." The woman stepped back into the dark. "Leave now. Before she sees what you've done." The pit opened. Light above. Alina carried Rafi upward, her ankle aching, her hands shaking, but her heart whole. She had brought him back. But the sorceress would not stay silent. Alina limped through the mist, her arms locked tightly around Rafi, who now slept peacefully against her shoulder. But every step echoed with weight. The seed had worked. Rafi's soul had returned. His eyes, his smile, it was him again. But Alina's own mind felt thinner. She struggled to hold on to the memory she had offered. The image of baby Rafi in her arms. His soft breath against her neck. It was starting to fade. She clung to its outline, its warmth, but the details slipped like sand through her fingers. It was the price she paid. And it hurt more than anything else she had endured in the hollow. The forest around her was no longer whispering or watching. It was holding its breath. Nilo had warned her once. Every time light shines in the hollow, darkness must strike back twice as strong. And now it was coming. The trees shuddered. The sky bled red at the edges, and the earth trembled beneath her bare feet. "Alina," Rafi stirred, blinking awake. "What's happening?" She didn't want to answer, because the answer lived in the wind that now screamed through the branches, in the black mist coiling between the trunks, in the way every creature in the forest, bird, insect, beast, fell deathly silent. The sorceress had awakened, and she was hunting. Far behind them the sky cracked, not with thunder but with soundless pressure. Scream without sound. A hole tearing open in the air itself. Alina turned and saw the black flame rise. Tall, cold and furious. She knows, she whispered. The ground erupted behind them. Trees tore themselves from the soil and twisted toward the sky. Vines surged like snakes, lashing the ground. The forest that had once watched silently now moved with purpose. Alina broke into a limp run. Her twisted ankle screamed, but she gritted her teeth and pressed forward. Rafi's arms wrapped tightly around her neck. "We need to hide," he said. "No," she replied. "We need to leave the forest. All of it. But we don't know the way. Then we make our own." They passed a ring of stones glowing faint blue, the same symbol she'd seen carved into the woman's body back in the pit. A warning, perhaps. Place of power. She stepped around it carefully. Then the voice came again. But not from the trees. Not from Rafi. It came from inside her own head. "You can't take what's mine." Alina stumbled. Her vision spun. For a second she couldn't feel her own skin. Her heartbeat stopped, then returned like a crashing wave. Rafi screamed as her arms nearly let go of him. "Alina," he cried. "What's wrong?" She collapsed behind a fallen log, gasping for air. Her nose bled. Her fingers trembled. "She's inside me," she whispered. The sorceress had not just awakened. She had entered her. The price of crossing the hollow was deeper than magic. The sorceress had marked her. Had buried her shadow in Alina's heart the moment the first spell cracked. It was how she controlled the forest. Not from towers or thrones, but from inside those who dared resist. Rafi took her hand. "Don't let her in." "She's already there," Alina said. "But you're still here," he replied softly. "You're still Alina. And I'm still Rafi. That's real." She looked at him, his eyes, his courage, and nodded. She took a breath and stood. The forest ahead sloped downward, into a canyon choked with fog. A river flowed at the bottom, slow and silent. The bridge of no return, Nilo had once called it. "Cross that," he had said, "and she can't follow." But no one had ever crossed it and survived. Alina had no choice now. She carried Rafi down the slope. Stones rolled underfoot. Branches grabbed at her clothes. The sound of the sorceress's fury chased them. Roaring wind, cracking trees, the earth itself buckling beneath the weight of her wrath. The bridge emerged from the fog. Flooded. It stretched across the canyon like a broken spine, barely held together by ropes frayed and mold-covered. One side dangled, half unhooked. "We'll fall," Rafi said. "Not if we don't look down," Alina replied. She stepped onto the first plank. Creak. Her foot wobbled. Then she took another step. Behind them the sky turned black again. The sorceress was coming. Not as a figure now, but as a storm, a living cloud of feathers and claws and screeching light. The bridge shook. The ropes snapped in the wind. Alina held Rafi tighter. "Close your eyes." The wood groaned. A plank broke beneath her. She leapt forward, landing hard on her knee. Pain flashed, but she kept going. Halfway across, she heard her name, whispered from below. "Alina." She looked down, and saw herself, in the river's reflection. But not as she was. It was a twisted version. Ill, empty-eyed, bleeding. A version of her that had given up. "Alina." The reflection begged. "Come back to me." She froze. "Don't look," Rafi cried. The reflection smiled. "If you step forward," it said, "you will forget him again. You will forget love." The wind howled. The bridge cracked. But Rafi grabbed her face with both hands. "I don't care if you forget. I'll remind you every day. I'll never leave you." Tears poured from Alina's eyes. She took one step, then another. The sorceress screamed behind them. The ropes tore. The final plank snapped. But Alina leapt. She hit the ground on the other side and rolled. The bridge behind them collapsed completely, devoured by darkness. Silence. No wind. No voice. No scream. Only breath. Then, Blake. The forest ahead was different. Bright. Green. It was another world. She looked down at Rafi, who was asleep again, this time peacefully. And for a moment she allowed herself to breathe. But deep in her heart she felt it. This was not the end. The sorceress was not destroyed. She had only been delayed. And Alina knew. The final battle was still to come. The air smelled like morning dew. The forest that stretched ahead was quiet, not empty but calm like a resting giant. Alina stepped slowly, her boots sinking into soft moss, her arms wrapped gently around Rafi, whose breath was steady against her shoulder. It was the first time in days the world around them felt alive in a way that didn't threaten. Birdsong broke through the canopy above. Light filtered down, touching their faces. The trees here were not twisted or cruel. They stood tall, warm in color, their leaves golden and green. Ferns opened as Alina passed, as if bowing. Flowers turned toward her. Even the wind brushed her cheek like a whisper of welcome. Still she could not let her guard down. She remembered the sorceress's last words before the bridge collapsed. "I am not finished." And Alina had felt it in her bones, the way the shadow had crawled inside her, even as she escaped. It was inside her still, and it was growing. She found a place to rest beneath an ancient tree, its trunk wide enough to hide a house. She sat, laid Rafi on the moss and exhaled. Her ankle throbbed, her wrists were bruised, but the pain in her chest was deeper. Because she could feel the sorceress breathing beneath her skin. First it was subtle. She would forget a word, a name, a memory. Then she'd hear voices that weren't there. Shadows in her dreams. Each night, she woke sweating, heart racing, afraid that she might look down and see her own hands stained with black feathers. And today, she had felt something worse. A flicker of rage. Not hers. But something planted deep, buried behind her ribs. Something whispering, "Let go." She looked at Rafi, who stirred now, blinking up at the sky. "Alina, where are we?" "Somewhere safe," she said, stroking his hair. "For now." He sat up, then leaned into her side. "Did we win?" She hesitated. "We survived. That's enough for now." He was quiet for a long time. Then gently he asked, "Why are you crying?" She didn't know until he asked. But her cheeks were wet. "I'm just tired." That wasn't the truth. The truth was she was afraid. Afraid that she wouldn't be strong enough if the sorceress returned. Afraid that she'd lose herself. Afraid she already was. Rafi took her hand. "You're still you." She smiled. But inside the shadow twisted. They stayed beneath the tree until the sun tilted low. Then a sound drifted through the branches. Music. A distant humming. Voices. They rose, strange and beautiful like glass chimes in the wind. Alina stood, lifting Rafi once again. "Someone's here." She followed the sound through the trees, pushing aside branches, stepping carefully over roots until the forest opened into a wide glade. At the center stood a circle of people. They wore cloaks of moss and leaves, and their faces were painted with ash and flower dust. At first, Alina thought they were spirits, but they breathed, blinked, smiled. One of them turned toward her. "You've come far, child." Alina froze. "Who are you?" "We are the firekeepers," the woman said. "We protect the memory of the forest, and those who carry its wounds." Another stepped forward, younger. his eyes golden like the leaves. "You carry a mark," he said to Alina. "A wound that bleeds without blood. The shadow sleeps in your heart." Alina felt herself step back. "I didn't ask for this." "No one ever does," the woman said gently. They led her and Rafi to the fire at the center of the glade. Not an ordinary fire. It burned silver and blue, and its flames made no smoke. It whispered instead of crackled. Around it, the firekeepers knelt. "You crossed the hollow. You faced her. You paid a price," the woman continued. "But now she will come again. And you must be ready." "I don't know how to fight her," Alina said. "Not like this. I'm still broken." "You are not broken," the younger man said. "You are marked. And sometimes the mark is not a curse. It is a key." They placed their hands on her shoulders, on her chest, on her back. And then the fire rose. Alina's body burned, but not with pain. With memory. With light. She saw Nilo's face again, clearly for the first time since his death. His last words echoed through her mind, warm like a blanket on a cold night. "Get him out." She saw her mother, her father, Rafi as a baby. She saw every wound the sorceress had left in her life, but she saw them not as chains but as fires. Each one had lit something inside her. Each one had made her who she was. And the fire whispered, "You are more than what she took." When it faded, she collapsed into the moss. The firekeepers knelt beside her. They handed her a dagger not made of metal, but of carved obsidian and wood, wrapped in threads of silver bark. "This blade was forged from sorrow and ash. It is not for killing, but for cutting the threads of shadow." Alina took it with both hands. "Will it be enough?" she asked. "No," the woman replied. "But you are." They gave her water from the silver stream and berries that shimmered under the stars. They wrapped her wounds with leaves that pulsed gently, and when she stood again, the pain in her ankle had faded. That night, she sat with Rafi by the fire. He looked up at her. "Alina, are you going to leave me again?" Her heart cracked. "Never," she said. "Where I go, you go." And he reached into his pocket, pulled out a feather. It was gold. Nilo's feather. "I found it in your coat," he whispered. Alina held it gently. She felt warmth in her hands. Nilo was not gone. He was with them. In every step. In every breath. The sorceress might rise again. But so would they. Together. The sun rose slowly, turning the sky from black to ember. The forest around them was still, heavy with anticipation. The firekeepers had disappeared at dawn, slipping back into the woods like mist, leaving Alina and Rafi alone with their courage and a single purpose, to face the sorceress one final time. She stood now at the edge of the valley where the trees stopped and the scorched lands began. It was a wide wasteland, cracked earth and bone-colored stone stretching toward a distant black spire that clawed at the sky like a broken fong. No birds flew over it. No wind crossed it. It was a silence that didn't allow life. That tower. It hadn't been there before, but it called to her now. Not with sound, with memory. Each step she took toward it, her heart burned hotter. Every hurt she had ever hidden throbbed in time with her heartbeat. Every lie she had told herself, that she was too small, too broken, too afraid, echoed from the stone around her like cruel laughter. "Alina," Rafi whispered. He walked beside her now, no longer in her arms. He had insisted. "I want to stand with you." She wanted to say no, wanted to keep him far from it. But she remembered Nilo's words again. Love isn't what we protect by hiding. It's what we protect by standing beside. So she nodded. "Stay close," she said. They walked in silence until they reached the base of the tower. The door was already open. Darkness spilled from within like a shadow with no source. Alina reached for the obsidian dagger. The blade hummed in her hand, reacting to something inside the spire. They stepped in. The light behind them vanished. Stone closed over the entrance with a grinding roar. And they were inside. It was not like any place she had seen before. The walls pulsed like veins. The floor felt soft underfoot, like the surface of a breathing creature. Faces appeared in the stone, screaming, whispering, weeping. Some she recognized, others she did not. Then ahead stairs winding upward into shadow. She took Rafi's hand. They climbed. And with every step, her body grew heavier. Her doubts louder. She'll break you again. She always does. You'll forget him. You'll become her. She shook her head. Not this time. At the top of the stairs was a chamber filled with black light. A throne made of twisted roots and bones. And seated upon it, a sorceress. But she was no longer veiled in darkness. She had taken a form more human, more beautiful. Her silver hair fell in soft waves. Her skin glowed. Her eyes shimmered with the stolen memories of hundreds of children. She looked like someone out of a dream. A nightmare in a dress of light. "You came," she said calmly. Alina stepped forward, heart pounding. "I came to end this." The sorceress laughed gently. "Poor girl. You still believe in endings. You're not here to stop me. You're here because I let you live. Because I need you." Alina's hand tightened around the dagger. "You need nothing but your own fear." The sorceress stood. And suddenly the room changed. The ceiling disappeared, revealing a sky filled with swirling memories. Voices, faces, screams, all spinning above them in an endless storm. "You don't understand what I am," the sorceress said. "I don't feed on power. Feed on pain. On stories left untold. On love that isn't strong enough." She reached toward Rafi. Alina moved between them. "You don't touch him. Then give him to me," the sorceress said. "And I will give you peace. You'll never remember him. You'll never ache again. I'll take your sorrow, your rage. You'll be free." Rafi looked at Alina, eyes wide. "Alina, don't listen." The sorceress raised a hand. And suddenly Alina couldn't breathe. The air thickened. Her knees buckled. In her mind, voices screamed. "You are not enough. You failed Nilo. You failed them all. He'll be better off without you." The dagger slipped from her hand. It fell. But then, a small warm hand grabbed hers. "Rafi. Alina. You are not alone." And something broke. The darkness cracked. A beam of light, golden and pure, erupted from the ground. The sorceress screamed. "No!" Alina's hand reached out, fingers grasping the dagger once more. But it wasn't the same. It had changed. Glowing, burning with golden fire. She stood. The fire spread from the dagger to her arm, then to her chest. It didn't hurt. It healed. Every scar, every lie, every shadow. And she saw the sorceress not as a god, but as a woman, twisted by grief, made monstrous by her hunger. "I'm not afraid of you anymore," Alina said. And with one step forward, she plunged the dagger into the heart of the tower. Not into the sorceress, but into the place where it all began. The ground screamed. The walls shattered. The memories in the sky exploded into stars. The sorceress fell to her knees, eyes wide, her voice a whisper. "What have you done? I set us free." A light burst from the floor, rushing upward like a river. It swallowed the throne, the roots, the bones. It swallowed the sorceress. And when it reached the ceiling, it broke into thousands of glowing birds, golden, feathered flames that soared into the sky, singing. Alina collapsed. Rafi crawled to her side. "Alina! I'm here," she whispered. "I'm still me." And for the first time in days, her voice did not tremble. They woke beneath the open sky. The tower was gone. The valley green again. Alina stood, Rafi beside her. They looked up as the golden birds flew east, toward the rising sun. Behind them, a breeze moved gently through the trees. Nilo's feather, still in her pocket, fluttered. She smiled. Not all lost things stay lost forever. They walked hand in hand toward the edge of the forest. Home was still far, but they were not afraid anymore. They had faced the darkest part of the forest, and found the last light within themselves. Dear listeners, from this heartfelt and emotional tale, we are reminded of a powerful truth about bravery, love, and sacrifice. Alina, a young orphaned girl who had already lost so much, never gave in to despair. Even when faced with darkness, danger, and the unknown, she chose to fight, not with weapons or hatred, but with the strength of her heart. As a tiny mouse, she showed us that true courage does not depend on size or strength. Sometimes, the greatest power comes from the smallest places, and what seems weak can carry the mightiest determination. Real bravery is not the absence of fear. It is moving forward even when your heart is breaking. We also learn that pure love will always find a way. Alina was willing to give up everything for her little brother, even pieces of her own memories. Through her sacrifice, she proved that love is not measured by what we keep, but by what we're willing to let go of for the sake of others. And perhaps most profoundly, we see that darkness often grows from an unhealed wound. The sorceress, the story's villain, is not just a symbol of evil, but of deep pain left untended. She represents what can happen when we allow our past to consume us and turn us into something we were never meant to be. This story is a work of fiction, crafted to feel real, with the purpose of offering motivation, inspiration, and life reflection. It's a reminder that no matter how lost we feel, there is always a path back to the light, as long as we keep walking with love and courage. Thank you so much for listening to the very end. If this story touched your heart or gave you something to think about, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing so we can continue to share meaningful stories with you. Let us know in the comments, what part of Alina's journey moved you the most? And where are you listening from? We'd love to hear from you. Until the next story, take care and keep your light shining.